Right. So everyone, actually, this afternoon is very interesting topic that I'm going to appear on the screen because when we talk about language acquisition, of course, it deals with the first language acquisition and second language acquisition. So there are three parts of the big domains when we talk about acquisition. Okay, first language acquisition, second language acquisition. And actually, when people's or well kids or when the language users they are trying to use their native language, whether it is first language or second language or even foreign language, of course they will get the errors. All right. But then in these articles, it discusses about what kind of the errors making errors by natives or by people who are studying language. So it is part of the international journal articles, right? And how, if you're interested in this kind of articles, actually you may take a look through the Google Scholars with the journal's title language teaching. But here is the title of the articles. All right. So when we talk about error analysis, it means that it is by survey. So the researchers try to have something like what actually types of the errors making by the students or making by the people's dealing with interlanguage. What is meant by interlanguage? Interlanguage here means that one person, he or she might be able to communicate with any languages, all right? Maybe any one of you are able to speak Indonesian as well as Japanese, as well as Sudanese, as well as Acehese, as well as English, as well as Arabic, as well as Chinese, and so on and so on. So when we talk about there are so many languages and multi-languages, it is part of the interlanguages, all right? But the point is, how do people make the mistakes in doing second language acquisition, all right, in the frames of interlanguage? Here is the backgrounds and the background of study. Okay, so when we talk about Edinburgh, it means that English in that country it is part of the second language learning or second language speaking. And I have already told you the previous meetings that Malaysia they use English as the second language acquisition. All right, Singapore they use English as the second language acquisition, but different from our country, Indonesia. Indonesia is English as the foreign language, international foreign international language. So of course the perspective difference, all right. Children in Malaysia, children in Singapore, and children in Indonesia, they have different perspective. All right, we still remember previous times ago when bahasa Inggris diajarkan di SD elementary schools. At the time, we were glad we were accepted with that kind of policy by the ministers of education at the time, and English has had been touched from class 3, class 4, class 5, class 6. Even some private elementary school, they distributed English from the bottom one, right? Class 1, class 2, even from TK, even from playgroup. Actually, at the time, at that year, it was a good news for our country because they will be able to speak or they will be able to use the English for the communications later on. All right, it is expected to be English speaking active rather than English speaking passive. Now on English in SMP, the time allotment on the time hours it has been lower. In SMA there has been lower. All right, and for the GP jam pelajaran juga lower, different from the previous policy. But anyhow, we have to accept it as the kind of the dynamic of languages. Okay, so as the big title here, error analysis, actually we are going to discuss about the three variables. The first variable is about error analysis. The second variable is about interlanguage, and the third variable is about second language acquisition. When we talk about second language acquisition, here is the independent variables, and here is the dependent variables, and analysis of dependent variables. Okay, so starting from this, in the course of learning second language, when I am mentioning second language, it means that Untraditionally, in our country, it is as the first language. Learners regularly produce other in speech and writing with judged by the rules and the second language, erroneous and ill form. So, do you still remember at while you are teaching your students, whether it is speaking or it is writing, whether you give your students with the text or subconditional text? All right, erroneous it is very common, and even ill form it is very common. When you ask our students of SMP, for example, we ask them to make simple kalimat, simple sentence, right? Kalimat simple sentence. Nah, simple sentence itu kan paling gampang, right? For SMP. But then sometimes they made it ill form. All right. What is ill form means misconception or misform. All right. What about the erroneous? The erroneous sometimes they make errors in putting, you know, uh, the articles or putting the verb be. Alright, kadang I masih pakai s, kadang you masih pakai is. Alright, they is, something like that. That is the erroneous. Alright, the ill form something like kalau simple sentence I am or I am eating food misalkan. Nah, kadang menjadi I put am eating. Nah, ill form. Alright, and it is common, and it is common for foreign language teaching. Okay, and traditionally, the attitude to errors was that they were a sign that the nurse had not be yet mastered the rules of the rules he was taught, and that they were therefore the details. So it means that what is meant by rules here is the traditional grammar. All right. So we are teaching our students in SMP and SMA with, with the forms that tenses itu seperti ini, that's linguistic features itu seperti ini, that's speech act itu seperti ini, and so on and so on. Oke, nah kita masih pada rules, masih pada forms kalau di SMP di SMA. But in university kita sudah pada meaning. Oke. Then we go to this one. Okay, in more recent years, there have increasingly been voiced about the status and applicability of the contrastive linguistic studies. What is meant by contrastive linguistic studies and language teacher here is mencari kesenjangan-kesenjangan pembelajaran bahasa pada language teachings. Alright. Nah, salah satu kesenjangannya apa? Adalah errors itu tadi. Alright, errors pada pronunciations, errors pada grammars, errors pada meaning, errors pada misconcept, and so on and so on. So if you're interested in this kind of research, actually you may visit to Richie, Nemster, Slema, Birds, all right, and because they are the expert of the contrastive linguistic studies. Okay, and the other contrastive linguistic studies is about, for example, like morphology, right? In morphology, in bahasa or in Indonesian language we have reduplication. What is meant by reduplication? Reduplication itu ya reduplikasi kata. Oke, untuk satu benda itu bisa reduplikasi. Contohnya apa? Kupu-kupu. So kupu-kupu bahasa Inggrisnya apa? Butterfly. Oke. Contoh reduplikasi lagi dalam bahasa Indonesia apa? Kura-kura. Alright, kita nggak bisa menyampaikan hanya kura. Kita tidak bisa menyampaikan hanya kupu-kupu. Alright, so kupu-kupu dan kura-kura it is part of the reduplications. Pertanyaannya adalah, Denny, do we have any reduplikasi di dalam bahasa Inggris? Can you find any reduplication in English? Denny? Halo Denny? Denny Setia?
Sorry, Zah.
Yeah. Okay, Denny Setia. As I mentioned earlier, right? In Indonesian we have reduplications like kupu-kupu, kura-kura. Okay, but in English we only mention one word, butterflies and turtles. All right. Can you find any reduplication in these words?
Okay, let me think it first.
What's that?
Right.
Can you find it? Anyone?
Laba-laba, sir.
Sorry, laba-laba in Indonesia, right? Laba-laba, oke. Spider itu kan cukup di bahasa Inggris hanya spider. Oke, the question is, apakah ada dalam bahasa Inggris itu reduplication yang kita temukan? Coba cari.
I don't think we have any reduplication in English, sir.
Who's speaking?
Dwi Srianggreni.
Oh, Dwi.
Yeah.
Yes, Bu Dwi.
Yeah.
Yes, Dwi.
I do not think that we have reduplication in English. Yeah, it is only in our bahasa.
Are you sure?
Wait a second.
Because reduplication, prefix, suffix, infix, it is part of the forms in language, in the words, right? So prefix, we have prefix. In English also have prefix, all right? Like presupposition, pre, it is preschool, it is the prefix, right? Like ibuan di awal, kata sadang depan, something like that, right? Infix sisipan, suffix kata akhiran. Kata akhiran kita punya ians itu dalam bahasa Inggris, right? Or ens itu dalam bahasa Inggris, right? Or able itu dalam bahasa Inggris, right? And dalam bahasa Indonesia we also ibuan, okay? Nah, when we talk about this kind of morphology, alright, ada prefix, ada suffix, ada infix, ada suffix, one more is reduplication. So yeah, it is part of the contrastive linguistic studies. Itu we see. So what is your opinion, do you see? Anyone can find it? Okay, I give you one. There is only one reduplication in English. I got this when I studied S2, and I got this from Professor Rotmono from UNES in 2007. So 2007 ada yang kalian di mana itu 2007-nya? 2007. Okay, so there is only one reduplication. Mungkin kalian sering tahu, tetapi you do not assume that there is part of the reduplication. Ya. Nah, reduplikasinya apa? Reduplikasinya adalah very. Makanya di sana ada ya ada VIP, ada VVIP. Ya, karena VIP dengan VVIP different. Alright, kata kura dengan kura-kura juga different. Even kata kura there is no meaning. Kata kupu juga there is no meaning. Right? Kata laba there is no meaning. But laba-laba there is no meaning. Like very and very. So very it is part of the only reduplication in English. Right?
Okay, grandmother, sir.
Sorry. Indra, grandmother.
Grand, like buyut, like that.
All right, grandmother. Okay, grand it is part of the reduplications. Grand is also part of the reduplication. Grandmother and grandmother, grandchild and grandchild. Right, that is different meaning. So as far as the meaning is different, it is part of the reduplications. So the reduplication is we do not change any movable of the pronunciation of the words. Yeah, Indra. Okay, that's a good idea, Indra. I do appreciate it. Thank you.
What about really, Pak? What about really, sir?
Really, no, really is part.
It is informal.
No, really is it part of the expressions. It is spoken expressions. Sorry.
It is only used in spoken in English.
Yeah, it is part of the spoken.
It is only used in communication. Yeah.
Yeah, but it is not part of the reduplications. All right, because really and really the meaning is the same.
What about just so, just so?
So
What is it about?
it is only the
It's just
spoken
so.
expression. It is part of the expression because so is the one meaning.
Oh,
Sama aja. It is the same
so
meaning.
it does not belong to reduplication, yeah.
Yeah, it does not belong to the reduplication. Why? Because reduplication, it needs to have different meaning. When one stand by itself, one word stand by itself. Can it be understood?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm going to continue. So again, what is meant by error analysis? So based on the state of the art, all right. So you may visit by Nicole, Germans, French, Potters, and Starfix. Error analysis actually it is part of the contradiction analysis that develops in linguistic and psychology, which can be broadly characteristic and structural and behaviorist. So error analysis itu munculnya dari pakar struktur dan pakar behavioris, alright. Orang-orang strukturalisms dan orang-orang behaviorisms itu kedua paradigm itu kemudian membuat suatu riset yang namanya error analysis. Nah itu munculnya error analysis, right? And error analysis here is concerning in language. It means that in second language. Okay. Nah, language acquisition, and second language learning could now be approached as a problem of cognitive learnings and position of a second language within the position of knowledge are certain kinds competence rather than a set of disposition and respond to a certain way to external stimuli. What is meant? It means that pemerolehan bahasa dan pembelajaran bahasa itu something different. Again, language acquisition and second language acquisition and second language learning itu berbeda. So language acquisition dengan language learning itu berbeda. Alright. Language acquisition itu bisa terjadi secara informal. So when we have a grandchild, ada putu, kemudian cucu kita mengikuti by babbling, by imitating, by drooling, and so on and so on. So our grandchild will have so many vocabularies. How does he or she gets so many vocabularies? Because by imitating, by drooling, right? Itu language acquisition. Gak ada yang ngajari tapi bisa. That is language acquisition. Alright, different from language learning. Language learning itu harus diajari. Alright. So when the kids alright study in TK, study in playgroup and so on and so on, nanti di sana dipelajari berdoa. It is part of the language learning. Alright. Mengucapkan terima kasih, maybe it is part of both. Bisa language acquisition juga bisa language learning. But the different thing is language acquisition. Again, language acquisition focuses on communicative competence. Ya, again communicative competence. Maka kids kalau dia mendengarkan bahasa Inggris dari games, dari TikTok, dari apa-apa gitu, dia hanya tahu okay, thank you gitu. No, hanya tahu gitu. No, thank you. Okay gitu. Good gitu toh. Alright. Kenapa? For language communicative competence, komunikasinya bisa lancar. But language learning here is ya, dia untuk apa? Lebih penekanan kepada itu set of cognitive structure. Ya, set of cognitive structure. Jadi kemudian di dalam pelajaran language learning itu ada polanya. Bagaimana bertanya, bagaimana menjawab, alright. Kalau language acquisition anak kecil, that's fine, eating, food gitu, it means that where is the food? Gitu. Alright, language learning diajari, ini loh cara membuat where is my food? Or something like that. Alright, that is different between language acquisition and language learning. Nah, yang kita ajarkan ke siswa kita adalah language learning. Alright, yang kita ajarkan ke anak kita adalah language acquisition. That is the different things. Okay, and then okay, lapses and mistakes. Ya, lapses and mistakes. Apa yang kita bisa temukan dari error analysis second language acquisition yang diucapkan atau yang dialami oleh pembelajar. Nah, Chomsky ini pakar bahasa makes a distinction between what speaker knows of his language, apa yang dia ketahui tentang bahasanya adalah yang dinamakan dengan language competence. Ya, kompetensi bahasa. Kompetensi bahasa itu apa? Ya language components, language skills, mereka tahu dan sebagainya. Different from how he use it is communicative process. So the example is when we talk about language competence, itu adalah guru-guru bahasa Inggris itu memiliki language competence. Alright, kenapa? Karena dia punya ilmunya. Alright, so guru-guru they know about the set of form, and they know about the linguistic features. They know about the vocabularies. They know about language skill and so on and so on. They know about vocabulary. Alright, but again, communicative competence, ya, communicative competence itu adalah pada penggunaannya. Take a look, tour guide di Bali itu mereka nggak belajar formal, mereka nggak tahu semantik, mereka nggak tahu speaking, mereka nggak tahu reading, mereka nggak tahu text, right? But they can communicate, they can guide the tourist, right? That is the communicative performance, communicative competence atau performance competence, alright. Nah, kita sebagai language teachers, kita harus menguasai dua-duanya, even language competence as well as language performance, alright. Nah, yang dimaksud dengan language performance itu biasanya dia ungrammatical, alright, ungrammatical. Kenapa? Karena tujuannya adalah sebagai communicative performance, gitu, ya, untuk komunikasi dan seterusnya. Alright, and we are going to know the lapse and mistakes. Jadi lapse-nya apa sih antara language competence dengan language performance? Coba kita merenungkan ya. Anyhow, all of us kita sudah memiliki language competence karena Bapak Ibu semua adalah guru, alright. But then communicative atau language performance kita belum tentu. Iya Pak, karena ada yang kalau di ngajar SMP itu sometimes kita kalau ngomong bahasa Inggris terus ya Bu Indra ya, malah siswanya malah jadi pusing ya, Wiwin ya, kalau kita di SMA ngomong bahasa Inggrisnya siswanya jadi pusing, so that we use mix Pak, mostly malah bahasa Indonesia Pak, nah, seperti itu. Sebetulnya anyhow I do not agree with this kind of perspective, karena the more we speak English is the more model that we can give to the students. Okay, so teachers in front of the class is part of the models for them. Actually, that's the fact. Right? What about communicative performance? Nah, communicative performance itu ada perspektifnya siswa kita. Ma'am, I want to know what is bla 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 gitu, right? But actually the grammatical, kalau ada grammar siswa salah jangan langsung kita salahkan ya. At the time ya, jangan disalahkan at the time ya, biarkan mereka menyampaikan apa adanya, and then after the class baru kemudian kita panggil, tadi harusnya sepertinya ini gitu ya. That's the strategy. Okay, and lapses and mistakes here is about language competence and language performance. Okay, nantinya kita akan tahu. Methods in error analysis, the significant study of learners' errors given so far has been irrelevant constructing learners' approach to systems. All right. So by providing practicing teachers with information, insight, and practicals, pada mana teaching material and classroom practice. Jadi nanti akan dilihat pada surveinya pada classroom practice. All right, pada classroom practice. Kita akan tahu anak-anak SMA itu lapse-nya tuh yang apa, right? Kemudian mistakes-nya tuh yang bagian mana, gitu. Oke. Okay. And okay, kenapa kita butuh di classroom practice? Karena secara for pedagogical purposes, ya, secara pedagogis, we need to know what the principal learning typical of a group of learners. Alright, so make a group of learners, then they are discussing about the materials, or for example discussing about the descriptive text or narrative text. Alright, then we are going to get what are actually in the labs and what are actually the mistakes. Alright, dealing with these errors. Okay, and the classification errors. Alright, the classification errors is concerned with these three kind of errors. Jadi errors itu omission errors. Omission errors itu ada yang kata yang hilang, ada yang syllable yang hilang itu omissions. Ada yang additions ya, ada penambahan syllable pada kata tertentu. Jadi addition. Ada substitution. Substitution ada pergantian ya, pergantian syllables kata tertentu yang disampaikan oleh siswa. Nah, omission, addition, substitution ini kan ranah-ranahnya pada language acquisition, pemerolehan bahasa dia. Baik dia menerimanya dari guru maupun dari lingkungan sekitar.
Internetnya tuh gak kuat.
Right. Now, this is three parts of classification errors. So that we are going to know what is errors, looking for omissions, looking for addition, and looking for substitutions. And okay, with this one is according to the system of vowels, consonant system, tense, aspect, numbers, genders, and case. It is part of the omissions, right? And such error describe the principle of the rules, grammar, and phonology. So when we talk about omissions, addition, and substitution, it is part of the grammar and phonology. Alright, grammars misalkan nanti ada menulis conclusion ya, menulis kesimpulan conclusion itu kadang ada yang masih dengan T ya, conclusion gitu ya, conclusion masih ada yang dengan T, padahal harusnya dengan S. Terus nulis apa lagi contohnya? Omission, contohnya apa lagi? Address ya, address D-nya 1 misalkan, address D-nya 1 itu omissions. Alright, atau addition menulis titles T-nya double, T-nya double jadi 3 gitu misalkan. Atau agree double-nya G, addition double-nya G. Alright, nah itu bagian dari omission and additions. Alright, grammar and or phonology. And based on the evaluations that we the need to make adjustment of the errors derived from the two sources. First, from the need of assess the learner's knowledge for administrative purpose. Di administrative purpose ini adalah kita melihat dari jawaban siswa ya. Siswa kita minta untuk make a descriptive text, written descriptive text. Kemudian dari written descriptive text itu ya kita evaluasi, kita apa namanya ya? Ya kita evaluasi, dari evaluasi itu kemudian kita akan dapat omission, addition, and substitution yang salah dan seterusnya. And second, determine priorities for remedial measures. Jadi beberapa yang salah kita berikan kesempatan untuk coba menulis kembali, gitu, right? Nah dari kesalahan-kesalahan itu, actually we can detect that there will be mana ada berapa omission yang salah, ada berapa addition yang salah, ada berapa substitution yang salah. Gitu. From this kind of points, the more dominant lapse and mistakes kita bisa detect, kita bisa analyze, dan kemudian untuk bahan pengajaran kita ke depannya akan lebih much better. Itu, and then based on the explanations, whereas the identification description of error is matter of linguistics, the explanation of error is matter for psychology of the second language learning. It bridges the gap between error analysis, pedagogical exercise, and performance analysis as part of the investigation into processes second language learning. So it is true, I do agree with this pedagogical exercise. It means that we need to give more exercises to our students, right? To make sure that their first language position already properly. Alright. Nah, memang harus sering-sering mengadakan performance test ya, atau competence test agar kita tahu. Terkadang sometimes our students have a good performance but it's not a good in competence. Ya. Speakingnya bagus kalau mahasiswa dulu, ada mahasiswa yang speakingnya bagus tapi grammarnya banyak salah. Otherwise ada yang mahasiswa yang grammarnya bagus, writingnya bagus, tapi speakingnya nggak bagus gitu ya. Alright, nah, it is lapse and mistakes, alright. Alright, it is usually an error analysis to identify three principles Ya, causes for errors. Apa sih yang menyebabkan errors itu? Language transfer. Language transfer. It means that guru yang salah itu akan ditiru oleh muridnya. When the teachers misspelling, misalkan ya misspelling, pada mengucapkan kata memotong cut ya, kita baca put gitu, right? Nah itu salah akan ditiru terus. Atau pada butcher ya, butcher kita menyampaikannya butcher gitu. Nah itu akan di terus. Misalkan develops ya, kita membacanya develop. Develop itu akan diikuti oleh siswa kita terus. Nah, dan that is language transfer. Makanya we as the language teachers, we sering-sering melihat take a look pada phonetic transcription. Ya, belajar pada phonetic transcription gitu. Gitu ya Bu Siti Nur Azizah. Ada pengalaman language transfer. Can you give your experience, please?
Ya, actually teaching English is very complicated ya Pak. In which we should make our students understand everything about English, including the grammar, their correctness, and also their everything lah. Tapi unluckily, the time for teaching is only 2 hours, and of course it's terlalu sedikit waktunya gitu ya. Not like the previous one that we have 4 hours for one class, and I think I'm rather sad. rather sad about it. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I do agree with your perspective, ideas, Siti, karena the time allotment is lesson and lesson different from the previous policy. All right. But when we talk about language transfer, here is including grammar, vocabulary, language skill, and so many stuffs. All right. So what about you, Wiwin or Bu Wiwin?
Yes,
Okay. Language transfer in your class.
that mistake, we learn from our mistake. So let's say that let the students don't be afraid to make mistake, because English is not our own language. We are not native speaker of the English, so don't be afraid if we make mistake, because we learn more from the mistake itself.
Yeah. Okay. All right. I do agree with you, Wiwin. And also, yes, Indra.
Experience that.
Okay.
About language transfer ya. About language transfer itu many of my students itu what they get when they were in SMP or in elementary school SD ya. Jadi they will bring it up to SMA gitu ya, up to high school. They will say the same pronunciation into many words. Many words like apa ya? They say
What?
Apa namanya, ungu tuh purple like that, purple, and then what else? Salt, gold like that. The apa namanya, model itu. Penny Masud Boot itu mereka bilangnya salt, gold like that. Itu I have teach them. I have taught them to pronounce the best one, the better one, the right one. But later they will do the same. So it means that it's so difficult to change what they have, what they had when they were in SMP or SD. That is so difficult to change. They will bring it maybe all the time that in their life.
Yeah, enlightening Indra, thank you for your ideas. And then I can continue, give raise to interlingual errors. So interlingual errors, it means that something that mistakes, all right, something that learners errors because of the mother tongues, all right, something like when you are from Banyumas, for example, or when you are from Brebes, for example, sometimes you are still influenced with your accents of orang Banyumas, of orang Tegal, all right, like your bahasa English looks like Rada Medok. Oh, your English looks like it's not really English accents or American accents, right? But it is because of the influence of mother tongues, all right? It is the interlingual, okay? It is the interlinguals, but uh, based on the experience that I got, actually, orang Indonesia is more closely related to Australian or Americans or British rather than like Arabics or India. So India have their different accents. All right. Oh, ini orang India nih. So we can detect kalau orang orang luar negeri itu ngomong bahasa Inggris, oh ini orang India bahasa Inggrisnya. Oke, 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 gitu, something like that. All right. So, yes, can you give us your personal experience dealing with these interlingual errors that influence our English is influenced by our mother tongues? Yes. Ask to unmute. Yes. Yes. Yes, Nilasari.
Yes, I'm here. So for me, I don't have any experience in education, so I'm sorry I cannot say something about educational thing. So I think what you think about error is like developmental error, right?
No. My focus is on interlingual errors. So these interlingual errors means that we pronounce or we mention a word is influenced by our mother tongues. If we are from the bus, if we are from Chinese, if we are from Thailand, if we are from India, so our English will be influenced with the cultures of where we live. So, is there any opinions in your own as the empirical
I
experience?
think that one doesn't matter. It's about language, about the tones. I think that's what is doesn't matter. Even though the grammar, it doesn't matter because you talk about errors before, and then we can just move away from the grammars and then develop another system and the others. So it's like there's no way you can learn a language by simply memorize something and concentrating just something, and then about the tones and about the what they say. It's like from India.
The accents.
The action, yes. It's like the action is doesn't matter. Just say something like simple conversation, and then everything else just follows. Just flows.
Okay, so you want to say is that actually
It's like once we are comfortable with making mistakes and then don't care about the mistakes, so just say anything what we want to say, and then yeah, anything will flows. It's like say something simple, something like that.
Yeah, okay. So, in my opinion, interlingual errors, it is influenced by anyhow with our community or with our culture or even with our country. Like Indonesian people, when we speak English, is different from from Indian people. All right, it 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 it. It doesn't mention about the errors, about the mistake, and so on and so
Yeah,
on.
because a lot of Indian people is have wrong sentence. It's like wrong sentence. There's not right sentence, but they just speak up, just say what they want to say. But I think Indonesian is like more shy. It's like more, I don't know, grammatical, and they feel like will fail in the examination. But it for me, it's just like speaking English. It's not like exam, so nobody need fail, right?
All right. So you just mentioned about if I can conclude it, it is part of the two categories. The first one is language competence and performance competence. So when we are mastering something like grammar or something like syntax, it is part of the language competence. All right. We know ilmu bahasa, but when we talk daily, all right, communicate using English with anybody peoples, all right, whether our grammar is mistake or not, it does not matter. It is part of the
Yes,
performance
the
competence. So it
speaker,
is, yeah, it is
the early
two parts of
speaker.
the different things. Okay. So thank
Mm,
you for your opinions. Yes. Then
thank
I can
you.
continue. All right. Then I can continue. Okay. Like language transfer and interlanguage. All right. So in Indonesia, actually, language transfer is most eventually occurred in formal situation rather than interlingual errors. So
Because
language transfer.
before in the research course, sorry, I'm
Who's
forget.
speaking? Who's speaking?
Pusiti,
Who's
uh,
speaking?
yes, speaking. Before in the research method course, Pusiti said that like English is not the second language for Indonesian people. It's like foreign language. She say it's just foreign language, so it doesn't necessarily can speak English. So nobody need this. It's not really important because mother language is Java, right? And then second language is Indonesia. It's Busiti say that, not me. I just reply. And then English language, right, like just foreign language for us. So what do you think about that?
I have already explained this and described this in the first and the second meetings. Yes, in the second meetings,
Mm-hmm.
I have already classified what is meant by language acquisition, what is meant by first language acquisition, what is meant by second language acquisition, and what is meant by foreign language acquisition. There are four
Okay.
terminologies. All right. So I also have already distributed and giving the examples like English in our country as the first like the foreign language, right? That is why EFL, English as the foreign language. Second language, it is dedicated in Malaysia and Singapore because in formal situation and condition, or even in school and all these days are speaking English as the bahasa pengantar, as the bahasa komunikasi, all right? Actually, what the paradigms belong to Ibu Siti, Nuraini, and I myself is the same. All right, I first language is our mother tongue. It depends, all right, where you are living. If you are living in Sunda, so your Sundanese is your 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 first language, all right. Your second language is bahasa Indonesia. When you stay in Semarang or in Jawa, so bahasa Jawa it is your first language. All right, your second language is bahasa Indonesia. That is
So
the
maybe
third
students in high school, maybe they will say that I think English is not really important for us, or we don't need to learn English.
Okay. Is there any answers from teachers who are teaching in SMA? Anyone?
Not all, sir.
Not all. Okay, Indra, can you explain it to Tias?
Students think that English is so important to their future, I think.
So why we need speaking English? It's just foreign language. It's like my future is will not go to another country or another city or another world. Just stay in here. So why do you need to learn English so hard?
All right, interesting. Anyone of you, any participants? Bulina, do you want to say something?
Okay, thank you. In my opinion, learning English is very important for us, and especially for students here. But the students in our school have very limited time. Like who Aziza said, we have only in a week we have only twice meeting in a week, and only in one meeting we have only 40 minutes. So it's very limited for us to study English. So that's why our students feel very difficult to speak English and to write English. That's all I can say about it. But I think that studying English is important, but we have only limited time to study English. I think that's
Okay.
all.
Yes, for
My
me, English is
opinion.
really important for me, of course, but for the students, it is important for you, the students, and then the student will ask why it is so important for me, because learning English is difficult. It's really, it's really, it's really hard to learn English, especially for speaking. It's different when we writing and when we speaking. So maybe the student will say what's important for me. So if you know the important things for student English for the students, maybe the student will have some motivation to learn English, to
So
learn more.
how to make it
Because
more,
because
how to
you
make it
cannot learn
important for the
English in
students?
class.
How to make it important for the students? How to encourage students to study English, in your opinions? Halo Tias.
I mean, if the student feel this is important, it doesn't need to learn in class. The student can learn out of class or learn private.
All right.
Can you hear
So,
me?
of course, I can explain it in details. Yes. First, it depends on the policy of the governments. The governments already studied with this kind of the policy. In case lessen the time allotment in teaching of the SMP and SMA teaching hours, all right. So the policy is actually by having the English subject, all right, by having the English subject, the purpose is not only students can be able to speak English actively and passively, all right, but instead of that, giving English lesson or giving English subject, it will burns, all right. First, their discourse. Discourse means their wacana, all right, and their self-confidence. So people who can speak English and people who cannot speak English is different from the performance looks, all right. And the other one is the current issue. Usually, the text given to the students in SMP and SMA is the current issue, and this current issue is important for the students, all right, even though actually the purpose is not bringing them to be able to speak or to be able to communicate, but then they have already got the knowledge, all right, they have already got the knowledge. That's why, as I mentioned earlier, all right, in studying language there are two parts. The first is language competence, or kompetensi bahasanya. In this language competence, they know about the function of the language. They know about the text, all right? They know about the forms. The second one is language performance. Language performance-nya syukur kalau pada language performance-nya they can communicate, all right? They can speak, they can write, and so on and so on. That's why these two theories, right, language transfer and interlanguage errors, it is part of the errors making by the students, or even by making by the language speakers, the language teachers, all right. So that's why this research need to be done. Okay, yes. Can I continue?
Sure.
Okay. Then okay, this is the performance analysis. All right, this performance analysis. So when we talk about performance analysis in pedagogical objective, TIAS, teachers or English in classroom is different from English in the fields. All right, English is classroom. It should be everything for most. All right, that is why there is the pedagogical objective. Pedagogical objective something like bagaimana membuka percakapan, bagaimana menutup percakapan, bagaimana mengawali percakapan, bagaimana mengakhiri percakapan, bagaimana membuat greeting, bagaimana lift taking, and so on and so on. That is the pedagogical objective in teaching English. But English as the communication, kita kan kalau di English as communication, businessman and businessman, hey, you come here, kan gitu. Gak ada, hello, good morning, how are you, fine, gak ada, right? Gak ada. In the real life activity, there is no such actions. But in classroom, alright, there is the pedagogical objective. Kenapa? Karena kerangkanya kerangka pedagogi. It will be the same as when the engineer get the materials in the campus, and when engineers get realizing materials without the theories, alright. Nah, sama halnya seperti itu. Engineer yang lulusan kampus detail harus ada ini, tapi engineers yang tidak keluaran kampus atau yang bekerja di luar kampus kemudian membuat jembatan atau bridge yang mungkin beda dengan teori yang di kampus. That's the point, right? And then again,
Hello, Pak Tias.
hello, who is speaking?
Sir.
Oh, Topik. Okay, Topik. Okay, Topik.
I have a different opinion with Ms. Tias. Ms. Tias said that the students or the young generation think that English is not so important. As teacher, I don't have any idea like that, because when the student get error, get mistake, because of an indication, like in this group said that the difficulties of learner that means certain aspect of the language because of culture, social, and etc. Okay, and I like the discussion in the Miss Nung class that it is different. We can compare between Indonesia and Malaysia and Singapore, because in Malaysia, Singapore, English become the second language. In Indonesia, English become foreign language. For example, my student, the source of English from the teacher. They understand about what is it, good morning, good afternoon, everything real from the class. They don't have any source in the family or in the other situation. So maybe Ms. Tias can, even Ms. Tias not teacher, but you can try to understand the situation of the student in the, what is it, in the village. So to understand English is very difficult because they don't have any opportunity except in the class. And in the new curriculum, Mr. Minister Pak Menteri itu said that English only 3 hours. This is the problem for us, the teacher, to make English become familiar to our students. I think this is my first opinion to this discussion. Thank you, Mr. Dias.
Okay, I do appreciate your
It's
opinion,
like,
Topik Nugroho.
if you try to learn anything and you don't understand it, it's gonna go in one ear and then out to the other ear. So it's nothing in here.
Can you make it? Can you make it clear, Tias?
If you try to learn anything and you don't understand it, it's like go to in one ear and then out in another ear, right? It's like doing something that.
Yeah. What Tias already mentioned is about learning in general terms, all right? In general terms, learning everything. If you do not understand, you get only one left and one right, all right? You come left and you out right, okay? So anything, any kind of materials, okay? But then I do agree if something like teachers need to have something like strategies or steps in making our student understand, all right? We may start from the simple one. What is the simple one is teachers or lecturers as the models for the students, all right? There will be the models from the students. It is called as the language interference, all right? Language transfer. Kalau transfer kita bagus, okay, kepada siswa kita, that will be good. Mereka akan mendapatkan models. Oke, kalau interlanguage kita juga bagus kepada siswa kita, juga siswa kita akan menerima itu sebagai bagus. Alright, then they will get pengetahuan keterampilan bahasanya. Selain itu juga mereka juga bisa menirukan apa yang disampaikan oleh dosennya dia sebagai modelnya, gitu. Alright, I guess such a thing. It will be the same as like Arabic language. Arabic as the foreign language, Japan as the foreign language, Chinese as the foreign language. Wenao siang. So wenao siang ngomong terus wenao siang. Apa sih artinya? Oh, aku rindu kamu. Wenao siang. Bu aini and so on and so on. Kita nggak tahu tuh maknanya apa, but because modelnya bagus, kemudian kita bisa menirukan bagus. Alright, that is part of the communication. Itu namanya language performance. So again, language competence and language performance itu harus menyatu. Okay. Any more comments?
My comment, sir.
Okay.
For
who's speaking, a topic. Okay, Pak.
okay.
Okay, topic.
Talking about the language performance and English competence. Halo, Pak.
Hello,
For
hello.
the teacher. Hello. Okay. Talking about English language performance and English competence for the teacher, it should be one. I mean, the teacher should master in both of them. My question is, apakah seorang guru harus menguasai both of them? Ketika when maybe the competence is good, but the performance most of us, or not most of us, but I think some of us, I think it gets difficult to be to have the English learner to speak English well. Moreover, the teacher in the junior high school, they want to practice English well, but sometimes, like what you said, the student said, ngomong apa Pak? I think it is the big problem for us. Okay, thank you.
Okay, topic I can answer. There are two points. The first point is we must use language competence and language performance anyhow with any conditions. Alright. Long time ago, guru-guru bahasa Inggris itu berasal dari lulusan SMA atau lulusan SPG. They are not from undergraduates, university S1. Alright. But nowadays, recently, abad 21 ini, most of the teachers are from S1 pendidikan bahasa Inggris. So it depends on the teacher's motivation itself. Jawaban yang kedua, poin yang kedua adalah, Pak ngomong apa Pak? Kita anak mudeng. So we should realize that when we are speaking English for the whole time, even 75% or 10 or 50%, right? It is difficult for the students. But then things that we need to realize is we give the models. Even though they are mentioning, Pak, we opo ya kita jelaskan, it is this one. Open your book. Opo tahu Pak? Buka bukumu. Do you understand? Apa itu Pak? Apakah kamu paham? So the things that we realize is jangan pernah bosan untuk selalu menyampaikan itu, code switching, code mixing, and so on and so on. Jadi jangan kalau misalkan Pak, maksudnya apa? Kemudian we decrease, we give up, ya bahasa Jawa aja, bahasa Indonesia itu jangan. Itu yang membuat kualitasnya nanti nggak bagus murid kita. Gitu topik.
Okay, thank you, sir.
You're welcome. All right, so I guess that's the point about the error analysis. And now on, I am preparing for, wait a moment.